I remember you in the mountains.
Hey guys, Tyler here, and we are back with the second episode of our podcast. We had so much fun doing the first episode. What the heck? Let's go ahead and make number 2. So we have once again Zaft and Glitch with us. So Zaft got a new shirt. It's pretty nice, I have to say.
Well,
Good looking.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then also we have still Mr. OBS for now.
For now.
But until we get a webcam over on Glitch, we will definitely we will do a rotation of pictures. So I hope you guys will enjoy whatever we decide to put up in post, if you will. But I thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this evening. We are back with the second episode, and we are going to be talking all about not BlizzCon. We'll do our kind of recap on what we thought about BlizzCon in a future episode. But we are going to be talking about Season 2 of Dragonflight Mythic Plus and the Aberrus raid, and kind of what our thoughts were. It's, I guess, kind of a retrospective, if you will. This was something I used to do a lot on my Marksman Hunter specifically. You'll probably hear some Marksman Hunter point of view type thing, but we're going to be talking overall what we thought are good, are bad, are ugly, and everything in between. So, how are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, doing good. Feeling good. Looking forward to this.
This has been like the hotly debated topic. When are we doing episode 2? And the answer is, guys, right now. Right the heck now.
Right now. Asterisk sometime in the past when you watch this.
Yeah, we'll see how quickly I can actually get this out. But also, before we get started, I did mention I wanted to try to put this up on Spotify. I have not figured out how to do that yet. I haven't had time to do that, so you guys will just have to deal with the video portion for now. But I'm excited, guys. And where do you think we should start for Season 2? I guess maybe what were your guys' honest opinions, and we'll start with Zaft, of what you liked about Season 2 specifically for Mythic Plus?
It's Season 2. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did. It's for the sole reason that it's the first season that we've had without a seasonal affix. So the first time that we've ever gone into a season without the seasonal affix, and I ended up liking it way more. I like the affix like spread. I feel like it's really helped because like when you get to like when previously you would get to +10s and then you introduce to your seasonal affix, right? And then from 10 upward, it's the exact same dungeon, right? It doesn't feel as where like now like feels a little bit more dynamic as you build up. So the lack of a seasonal affix, surprisingly, I liked a lot.
We're starting off with the not so hot takes, huh?
I'll get to hot takes later.
Oh, that we'll save those for later. I forgot when we plug our Patreon and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So, all right, Mr. OBS, what do you think? I should stop calling you that. You're not OBS on the screen already.
Unless hey, OBS, call us if you want to, sponsor the podcast. I'll continue being Mr. OBS. I'll even still get a camera and still wear the logo on my face.
Just episode immediately sold out.
No, we sold out on the first episode, if you recall. Anyway,
it's true.
It had happened very quickly, within 5 minutes, I believe. Anyways, Season 2. I think what did it for me was the mix of dungeons. I did not think I would like the mix of dungeons at all, and then by the end of it, there was only one dungeon really that I was not happy to see. Both because some of them are just, they're very fun. I like to be in that dungeon. I like to do that dungeon. And others because it felt great when we conquered it. And that's a great feeling. And that really did it for me this season.
Except now I gotta know what's the one dungeon?
Halls.
Yeah,
leave me hang.
Halls.
Halls.
Yeah.
Forget Halls.
Yeah.
I
missed me with that one.
Leave it or leave it. Don't take it.
So for you guys that don't avidly follow our Raider.io scores and updating all the pages. So we have a fun little story here real quick about halls. The closest key that we have ever done was our 20 portal, or at least I think it was all of us, where we were all three there. For our plus 20 portal run for Halls of Infusion. Was it half a second officially on I think it was a half a second difference, or maybe one.
It was 1.328 seconds left.
Whew. Oh,
Closest call.
We got so lucky, and I'm not gonna say, oh well, this is why. We got so lucky with getting a ginormous crit from Beacon to the Beyond. So I don't care what people say. Beacon may be a meme trinket, but let me tell you, Beacon to the Beyond gaming is real, and Zaft and I both rocked it all season long.
I want to point out that we timed 2 20s of Halls of Infusion. Yeah, all three of us.
Yeah,
we cool. Went once with Tipsy and then once with Going for.
So in that 20 run, Going had not done a 20 up to that point, I don't believe.
No.
And on top of that, he had never done the dungeon. Goes in there, quick work, 20, gets his portal, no big deal. So I don't know if he's actually going to check out the podcast, but Going,
shout out to you,
Going,
my friend.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Halls of Infusion. Bad news.
Yeah, I don't. That's the one dungeon I don't like. I'm not saying like maybe I love some of the other ones, but they're at least fun.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm always like, okay, yeah, we can do this. This will be fine. Some of them have like interesting pathing. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no! I was talking with Greeley a little bit earlier about this. That like I was surprised that there were 2 dungeons that I was really not looking forward to for this season, and one of them was Halls of Infusion, and that kind of followed through. That I was like, this is not. I don't like doing this dungeon. But the other one was Brackenhide, and I ended up loving Brackenhide.
Yep.
So I guess that's going to kind of segue into my third of this pie here, where I initially wasn't super sure of how season 2 was going to turn out, because we had our staples dungeons that I was really looking forward to being Underrot and Freehold that were in the rotation. Cool. I love those. BFA was a ton of fun I was in several different Mythic Plus groups because, that was during the COVID years. So I got to experience it with so many different groups. Super cool. Well, when we were doing plus zeros in season 1, getting ready to go into Mythic Plus and then also Vault of the Incarnates, we were going in there and we were doing, like you guys said, Halls of Infusion, because there's a baller trinket in there for Boomkins, for Aug Evokers that weren't a thing yet, but you know what I mean. Like, good mastery trinket. So, good reason to go in there. And not that we had trouble, but it was just not a fun experience. Those first couple of packs, they just hurt. And then the flip side, and what Zaf said was Brackenhide. I was like, oh god, season 2 Brackenhide is going to be terrible. Yeah, no, it wasn't. That was don't tell Freehold, but Brackenhide was my favorite key this season. Not necessarily my favorite dungeon, because I have a huge love for Freehold. Pirates, the RP-esque, the elements to it, just everything. It does it for me. It checks all the boxes. But then you have Brackenhide, which was harder, not terribly difficult, or taxing on your group. You had to feel like you had to come in there with certain team members, or just brutal. No way other of saying it. It was just fun though. It was fun. We were allowed to flex our pulls. Maybe not on purpose.
Well, so they changed the way that the count works halfway through.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna stick by that as the reason that I kept messing up.
That's fine. But it was, once we got it to going, and it was just fun. It was a rewarding experience. We felt like we were actually pushing a key that we initially didn't like. We came around, and then I'm assuming for you, Glitch, it's it was at least top 4, I would say, of this season for you. Maybe?
For Brackenhide's solidly tied in first. And
Okay.
and if I'm speaking only in terms of like mechanically, like how the dungeon plays or whatever, it just wins. The only reason it's tied is because I have a perhaps irrational love for Vortex Pinnacle. And so when that got announced that it was a key, I was so happy. I love that dungeon. I just do.
So I was gonna have mine tied as well, but mine is tied with Oldman. I ended up loving Oldman, and it was one of those things that like beginning of the season having like little information, like it had decent information about like how it plays, and I was like, oh, this is a cool dungeon. And then start of the season, I was like, this is a brutal dungeon. And we proved that time and time again, no matter what, fortified or tyrannical week, it was brutal. It hit hard. By the end of the season, though, when we really nailed down our run, even if we messed up at the end with like, potions and like invis pots, right? It still felt good to complete. It felt like a cool dungeon. I feel like our pathing felt cool. It's a cool dungeon to like bring like we were running it recently with like at like a +2. I was running it with like with some like guildmates who are coming back, and I was like doing like this wild pathing to like go kill Bromok first, and I was like, I am on autopilot, just let me do that.
Just follow me. Things will die.
Zaft and I are just running the path,
Yeah, we're just doing something.
Did everybody bring their invis pots?
Yeah.
Did they turn off their toxic files? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I ended up that became definitely because it felt like I was like we were overcoming this challenge. We were doing this cool thing. We were, almost solving a puzzle.
That's actually one of the things that very early in the season it turned me towards starting to really like Brackenhide. I don't know who was there. I don't remember. I know Kalpao was. Shoutouts to our preservation worker Kalpao, doing work.
Keeping me alive.
We got into I think it was like a 17 Brackenhide. This was very early in the season. We got up to that first boss, Tyrannical, and we got rolled by that bleed.
Yes.
And that, but it was one of those types of things where every so often, like, and this happens to me while raid leading too, where something rolls us, and in my mind, I think, how do we maneuver this? How do we start approaching this? And I love to be able to have that, like, okay, here we go. Where do we beat this? And then being able to approach it and beat it, it's so satisfying.
I remember you doing that and then coming, like we like ran it the next day at like we were doing like 12s and 13s or so. We were doing like a significantly lower. I remember you coming to us and being like, hey, I want to try this strategy when we get to first boss. I want to kill Gnashtooth first. And we were like, we're not going to kill the healer first. This is unheard of. This is insane. And he was like, no. Kill him first, because when we get to Tyrannical and we were already thinking about 20s. He was like, when we get to Tyrannical on 20s, that he will flatten us. And he was like, and this is what happens is like Glitch presents an idea. I freak out and he goes, Zaft, calm down. He's like, all you need to do is just sit there and target the healer. And he was like, and you have interrupts for days. You can keep that guy silenced forever. And I was like, all right. And that's the strategy ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So whenever I did Brackenhide with a completely different group, and I had asked them how they did the first boss, and they're like, well, focus down the healer. I'm like, yeah, but what if we tried this? Not saying that, this was our idea or anything. I was like, just try it like this. And the tank at the end was just like, why do you guys do it that way? I'm like, well, this was the situation. We go in there our first 17 when we're normally in the 11, 12, 13 at that point in the season range. We happen to get some really easy keys that pushes it up, get to the 17, and it flattens us, like you said. And he's like, well, that's actually a great idea. And so he's like implementing like, oh, well, as I'm moving up in the key ladder at the beginning of a season. So if there's like something in season 3, which we'll probably talk about season 3 before we're done with the podcast, just so you guys know. He's like, I'll start to tackle it like that. So then I also started thinking about, well, what are some other dungeons that we could use this sort of thing? Like, oh, yeah, of course you kill the healer first. Well, actually, maybe you don't, and you keep them interrupted, CC'd, what have you, and then you profit. And I think we did a pretty good job of kind of doing that type of thing in Vortex Pinnacle on the first boss. And it's a little different way of thinking about it, but it's the same at the same time, where you probably don't need to lust that boss. You probably don't on Fortified, for example, particularly when you're getting up higher. But after a while, everything would just go wildly wrong, and we're like, you know what? We're just gonna. That's what we're doing, and that's what we're going to do on that fight. We're gonna throw our lust at it, and do we need it elsewhere? Doesn't matter. We're gonna put it there. And just like that, like out of the box thinking of like, oh, you should do it this way. Actually, no, we're gonna do it this way, and we're gonna stick with it. And then I have to say, at least in Vortex Pinnacle, I don't know that we ever wiped on him when we did lust. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we didn't.
If we
on first boss?
Yeah.
We didn't. We didn't wipe when we would lust on first boss, but there were multiple times. There were a significant amount of times that that glitch. I'm not gonna say glitch was like, we should not be lusting first boss. We should be lusting we should do like a big pull right at the beginning, or we should lust that pack right at the bottom of that, like at the bottom of the ramp before first boss. It's like there's like two soldiers, two like cyclone dudes, and like a guy with a big shield or whatever.
The soldier.
That's the one. Thank you. We were like, we should lust that pack, especially on like a fortified week, and we would, and then we would get to first boss, and then we would die to something stupid, or one of our and we would sit there and we would be like, okay. And we kept going back and saying, okay, we can put lust somewhere else, but we can't die to first boss. We can't keep dying to first boss. I'm not gonna say it's an easy boss to survive, because what does a tank know about survivability for his DPS companions? But it was like, just don't die, Forehead. I don't.
The thing is that first boss, Urchin, he has what I like to call the attention span check. That by all intent is a patchwork style fight. It's one mob. There's not that many mechanics, except the one that insta kills you if your toenail happens to go into it, and it happens to rotate through the boss's hitbox, which has a lot of effects. Blah blah. It's very easy to say "oops, and then you're dead.
But the big brain play that we started bringing to Mythic Plus, and I suggest that everybody does this in Mythic Plus, is find something that is going to reduce your character size.
Yes.
Anything that will reduce your character model.
Technique.
I play a Tauren, and like there is no way that I am going through Uldaman as a Tauren. That's not going to happen. Next expansion though, it's gonna be dwarf gameplay.
The Earth will rise.
The Earth will rise.
Yes.
I'm sure you're gonna rock it.
I'm so excited.
You're gonna be made of rocks.
Now that I know spoilers, by the way, for next expansion, but
by the way, spoilers.
By the way, spoilers.
You get to play a mountain giant. That's totally it. Don't look it up.
It's huge.
I think it worked. Don't worry.
Rock ogres. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's it.
Speaking of Vortex Pinnacle, how did we feel about our first Cataclysm dungeon as a Mythic Plus? We've had dungeons that were challenge modes, but we've never had one that has not seen any time trial in it.
Yeah.
How did we feel about that?
Do you want to take that glitch, or do you want me to?
Sure. So I was pretty down on it to begin with, especially because, as I mentioned, I love Vortex Pinnacle, so I was ready to walk in there and have things have two mechanics and two-shot you, and it be miserable. And admittedly, a little bit of that happened, yes, but a lot less than I thought it would. I was really worried about the second boss. The second boss was really scary to me, because that guy, again, has no mechanics. He just pumps, and while he still does that, they still made it interesting. They made it an interesting challenge, I think.
Yeah.
It just feels good. Same thing with the dude at the end. Siamat, that might be from Tolvir City. I don't remember his name. But I feel like
what is his name?
I know it's not Siamat.
It's
Yeah.
either
I'm gonna look
Siamat or Assad, but I don't remember.
It's Assad.
It's Assad. It's Assad.
Okay, well, either way, right? So I felt like Assad's still pretty cool boss. I like how they changed the, hey, here's this cleave target that's way downtown and you don't care about it. Like they make you actually kill it. That's fine. I feel like he was also pretty lethal, and I feel like you had to be those overlap moments kind of defined if you were playing good or if you were playing really good. If you could see those overlaps coming and react to them and save people, that always feels good when you can clutch that type of thing out, particularly when you clutch it out with pre-planning. I think it was good to great in terms of converting a Cataclysm dungeon into a key. I also think that is the only time it's going to happen looking at the next set of dungeons. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. So for me, I'm right there with you. I love Vortex Pinnacle. I was afraid when it was announced. I was like, ooh, bad things can happen to me there. I'm a very squishy target. And then we got into, it was probably like a month into raiding. We didn't get that many Vortex keys, so you got your 6, 7, 8s, 9s. Yeah. Well, somehow we got a 16 Vortex Pinnacle that we went and did like a month in. And for you guys that go, a 16, well, we normally slow push because we have a lot of people that we bring through Mythic Plus until we get to the point where we're going for Keystone Master or Hero and they kind of fall off. Not that they can't do it, they just don't have the want.
They get what they want and they're like, I'm done.
So we did a 16 and this thing freaking steamrolled the heck out of us. And I had seriously PTSD was forming right there. I'm like, this, and in any of my future Mythic Plus videos that I talk about when I do like our portal runs, 18s, 19s, and 20s moving up to that portal run, I'm just talking about this nonstop. Like a month ago or 3 weeks ago, we got steamrolled and we were in there for over an hour. But at the same time, we learned what was killing us, and we learned to, like, for example, first boss, yeah, you probably shouldn't lust it, but you know what? If it's going to kill you, or you think the lust will get you through that boss, so be it. And I think their changes overall were very complimentary. I am very complimentary of their changes. Yeah. I felt like it flowed. They didn't just give like random abilities that made no sense. Like if Colton, for example, if I told him, hey, let's go do this Mythic Plus 2, so you can see the dungeon, I don't think he would realize it had been changed. And I think that's a good thing because it would still match the way he felt, other than the second boss, of course. They had to change that one, like you said. But again, good quality changes. I agree with you. I think that we got very spoiled with how they did that one. Two other dungeons that I think might be fun would be Shadowflame Keep and Dead Mines for Mythic Plus eventually. Will we get those this expansion?
Probably
no. I think what they'll do for season 4 for Faded or whatever, they'll probably just bring back the original 8+2 for that. But again, we'll speculate on that at some other point. But overall, I give them like a B+, A-. On the first Cataclysm dungeon. I
agree. I think that they did a good job, and I think Greeley brings up a really good point that it's like it feels like Vortex Pinnacle. It doesn't feel like it's like, this is Vortex Pinnacle with a dragonflight skin slapped on it. It feels very it feels like it belongs. It feels like it's gotten better. Even like some of the mechanics that stayed the same. For example, the big dragons that have like the little healing buff that they're underneath, and they have like the that. They updated the graphics on a lot of stuff and a lot of like abilities. They made it look better. So like they really like clean sweeped and went through there. And then we talked about this earlier of like, oh, like don't kill the healer first, kill the more dangerous thing first. If there's one like if there's like a dungeon that like really shows that, and I think that kind of speaks volumes to like the design of the dungeon, it's in Vortex Pinnacle, because right in the first area, right before the first boss, there's the soldiers, and then there's the guys who cast Cyclone. And if you're in the mindset of just like, oh, yeah, I have to kill like the casters first because they're casting Cyclone, they're disabling, our group. That's fair when you're doing like plus 10s, right? But when you get to plus 20s, the Cyclones stop becoming the issue and the soldiers start to become the issue, because the Cyclones, if you don't have interrupts down at a plus 20, then I'm sorry, like that you need to get those down, because the Gust soldiers are just gonna one shot your hunters.
They're just gonna roll people over.
They're just gonna
Geez.
annihilate people. And that was it. Like we were doing strategies for it, and it was like, hey, like, okay, when we get to this, like, can I pull these two together? And Glitch would be like, absolutely fucking not. If you're gonna pull those two together, like it was, because it was like just the first two on the ramp, and it was like, listen, we can pull those together, but we have to kill the Gust soldier first. We kill that thing first, sure, bring it right into the next one. But having three of them up at the same time, death sentence. Absolute
That's a death to me.
Absolute death sentence.
A loss of 5 seconds.
So the fact that like this Cataclysm dungeon that got reworked has people having those micro conversations about trash packs that are super early on, I feel like it was very well designed, very well transformed. I don't want to make super like as much as I want to shit on Throne of Tides, because I hate Throne of Tides. I don't wanna curse myself now, but I'll curse myself now. I hate Throne of Tides. I think it's gonna be a bad time, but could be great, could be amazing. Who knows?
I will give them,
I know.
I will give them a chance.
Yeah, me too.
I'll give them one chance to give me a portal.
I'll give them one chance to make Ataldazar not miserable. Throwing the Tides a lost cause. Forget it. Let it drown in the sea.
I'd already blocked that out. That Adeldazer is.
Yeah, Adeldazer.
Yeah, we can't get into season 3.
Adeldazer, boy. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yep. So like I said, we definitely got spoiled with some good dungeons from Dragonflight, but also some fairly, I don't know, safe picks in Underrot and Freehold, and then some, take a swing at Vortex Pinnacle, and I think they got a big hit. So when Vortex Pinnacle eventually comes back around in the rotation, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Got that going for us at least.
Yeah.
So we've spent a lot of time talking about our favorite dungeons. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but what do you guys think is going to be your least favorite dungeon? I'm going to guess we might all have the same one.
Going to be my least favorite in season 3?
Well, let's do season 2 first.
Halls, man. I don't like halls in the slightest. Yeah. And it's not just because it's difficult. Okay, well, so is Uldaman. So is, Neltharus is pretty hard, I would think. Neltharian's Lair, I don't know how I healed that Neuraxis, by the way.
Because you're a god among men.
That was I don't know how that happened, but it's still satisfying. It still felt, you can hear it in my voice in the recording when we get that. I'm just saying silly stuff when we're getting that portal because I'm hyped because it feels good. What we're doing feels good. Halls of Infusion, aside from that extreme clothes shave where we're all like, oh yeah, we did. I can't believe we did that. Aside from that, the whole journey is just these security spheres. This stupid guy with his gigantic puddles. The frogs. This ice witch. Oh my god. Just get me out of here.
I think we were talking a little bit earlier about how Halls of Infusion, that fortified or tyrannical, no matter what, it's a punishing dungeon.
Yeah.
It's just there's at least one or two mobs that need to be interrupted for different reasons. They need to be CC'd or kited or I don't know, man, you go into that 5-pack right before the mini boss like the double mini boss in that long hallway. If you go in like as a tank,
bonk your head.
if you step over it, if you even breathe in that direction without a cooldown, you can
kidney shot.
You immediately you reselect a character. You just pick
Well, no,
a new
it's
thing.
even better
You get off the
when
face.
you're like, oh, we have a hunter. Just flare him, you'll find him, and then the hunter goes over here
Yeah.
and just throws it in the wrong, or throws it right at the top of the stairs. You're like, no, like idiot, like down there.
I'm training Necro to do Greeley things. I
have all the faith in the world in him.
I got him doing the first pull of Vortex Pentacle. I got him doing that pull for me. Got him to do it a couple of times. And I was like, Necro, you know what you got to do? And he's like, you got it, bud. And he
do the
nailed
thing
it every time.
Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, because this is not very clear while you're getting absolutely Kamehameha'd by the constructs at the first area, but all of those mobs have that stink of Siege of Borealis, things that are in combat with other things equals jank. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but that happens to some of those mobs because they're fighting, and so the moment they're like, there's aggro, they start casting things. Yeah. And if you happen to be trying to chase a Tauren on a Shadowflame skateboard that's trying to get to the next pack, and jank starts to happen, no, I'm not saying it's your fault. Those mobs don't have to be in combat. That doesn't have to happen. I hate that.
Or like because it'll happen sometimes where like I would be like, okay, like we're doing this, and I'll we'll finish this pull, and I'm running to the next pull, and before it can process in my mind that like 3 of them are about to finish a demoralization shout, and then it's like, I have aggro. All right, now we're all doing like 150% less damage or some shit.
Yeah,
like some nonsense. And I was like, all right, well, I got outplayed by this, I guess. So shouldn't have done that.
Just another negative, in my opinion. Graveyard placement, an extreme negative, in my opinion. Why?
I'd say the graveyard placement or lack thereof is the nail in the coffin for me.
Only saving grace of that entire dungeon is there's something for engineers.
That's it, yeah. And something good, admittedly, something amazing.
Free cheat death if you have an engineer. Thank goodness.
But also something amazing that has a gotcha already, in it. In that, was somebody standing 51 yards? Ha! You don't get the buff. Should have known.
Yeah. So it's always weird being like, all right, guys, huddle up over here while I click on this pillar. Come on.
Yeah, like it's a fair range, but also, why is there
a range?
You cleared a trash bag. You needed a profession for this. Just like, okay, if player in area, here you go. Done.
Not only are you clearing a trash bag, your options are either you clear and you get that cheat death, or you clear the other side and get a faster run back.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's not.
Don't die.
Don't die for it.
Whatever.
Halls of Infusion did not feel good. It was like I don't even want to say it's like an awful dungeon. Like it's just, it didn't feel good.
I will.
Any key level.
I'll say it.
I'll say it
right now.
It's an awful dungeon.
Say it to his face.
I'm just surprised that halfway through this season, I would have told you that Nelthorus was my least favorite. It's not in the top 5. It's probably number 7 or 6, but I enjoyed it for what it was, but it didn't feel like overly punishing for like little things. Like with the run back, the no graveyard. Sometimes, like for example, how many times did we take on the third boss in Halls of Infusion, and you're just a little too into the ice or the ice block, and then you take damage anyway, even though you're in that line of sight. That happened to me a few times, where I was like, nope, I'm just gonna stay, like, have a little bit of gap in between there, because otherwise I would still take damage for some of the time.
My favorite thing that would get me on Halls of Infusion is because she would, on that specific boss, because she spawns the icicles as she's doing donuts, right? So she does the first donuts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and I know where this is headed.
they could spawn right in front of you as you're running into the inner. Like she just blew our inner circle, and you're running in, and one spawns right in front of you. And I'm like, thank goodness I have an inordinate amount of health and cooldowns to live through this. But man, that happens to like I guarantee I think I saw it happen to either Tipsy or Going. It definitely happened to somebody, and it didn't end well.
Yeah. It adds 5. Or you lose 5 seconds on your timer when that happens.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's like, oh, plan better. I don't know. But like, and I was thinking about it because I was like, oh, for like our favorites, we all listed off like, oh, these are one or two of like our favorites. I'm like, my next closest dungeon that I'm like I didn't like this one was like Neltharion's Lair, and even that one was still pretty good for the reasons that Glitch mentioned of like we get to the end of it and it feels good. It feels like we've like really.
It feels like you did something, you conquered something.
Yeah. We really conquered that with Talisman Fusion. It just feels like we
struggle bust through a horrifying ordeal to the end. Yeah.
And we never talk about it again until we have the podcast episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here we are.
Well, I have to say, it's kind of a interesting topic now, just because as of like 2 hours before we started recording, Sporecloak got nerfed for season 3. Again. Yeah.
Oh, was it ever?
But I have to say, there are dungeons in season 2, and this is speaking from the Swiss cheese himself, Marksman Hunter mate. Like Sporecloak and Sporecloak Gaming, which we talked about all the time in my runs, was such a saving grace for the beams at the very beginning of that dungeon.
Yeah.
Like there'll be times where I can cheese 2 technically, because I can feign and I can turtle, but that's it. Yeah. And those things were doing what 20-25% of your health. So just having a Sporecloak was such a pivotal thing for me to have to just survive on some of those pulls. And I am a firm believer that Drexit has some amazing healers. Healers are by far the backbone and the lifesaver that gets us through fights that we normally wouldn't. And in Mythic Plus, it's no different. And the fact that so excited to have Sporecloak. I was already getting ready, working on my 10.2 Marksman Hunter guide. Yeah, Sporecloak is the way it's going to be going. Going to be exciting, have your extra defensive, and now it's getting nerfed. So what do you guys think? Are you happy about it? Is it needed? Sound like before we jump into that, there was some changes like to added versatility when you're above 70%. I've read the blue post over on Wowhead, but RIP to Sporecloak Gaming. I'm sad. It was a lot of fun.
I think it's gonna be still a desired defensive option for a lot of people. I also think that we definitely sometimes had it, and we used it in lieu of a better plan. Just Sporecloak it, lol.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair. But I think it's going down in value quite a bit. I don't foresee us needing it as bad. I guess we didn't really need it, right? But
speak for yourself.
Well, no, I mean, the options were okay. I could survive this, but it's a fair amount harder, or I could just Sporecloak and maybe not think about these specific mechanics. I don't think you're going to be able to do that anymore. I think now it's going to be more of a very measured response of this boss 100% one-shots you every time unless you have something. Something is now that Sporecloak, right? Because it's a lot more niche. Does that make sense? Instead of a catch-all of a great defensive. But yeah, it got, in my opinion, it got plastered. The first time, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was riding it out. It might even, some people even considered it a buff. I think I might actually be in that camp just because the versatility was really strong for some people. But I can understand why some people considered it a nerf because the shield was a lot smaller. Okay, fine. Now it got plastered. Like, there's no other way to look at it, I think. But there are also some new embellishments that I think needed some light, some space to to be able to be used in dungeons and to see if they're any good. I don't know if they're gonna be good. I don't know if the final tuning is gonna make it, but at least not having one embellishment 100% tied to Sporecloak if you're doing any keys worth of them is probably an okay thing.
Yeah.
It just means we can't be as lazy for some things like I definitely was. When I knew that was up, it's fine, you know?
Yeah. It is going to be interesting and most of my thinking is marksman hunter oriented. I have very few defensives, long defensive cooldowns on the ones that matter, and even then they're not complete immunities, that sort of thing. I am going to grieve the loss of it because there was a huge shift from when I decided to say, you know what, no, I'm going to drop one of my Shadowflame patches and I'm going Sporecloak. Not because it's going to lower my damage, but a DPS is dead, does less damage.
Yep.
So I just said, I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to do it. And I'm not even say the defensive boost. There was a good defensive boost, but the quality of life that it brought, where I felt like I don't have to fear going around this corner when we're in Uldaman, because one of the rock throwers is going to be like, or two of them are going to be like, him.
Here it is.
Just him, and he's dead. So I will miss that, but that's less of the Sporecloak and more of the design problem that Marksman currently has. So it was, if anything, just a little bit of a large Band-Aid that I put on my forehead for season 2. But
yeah, that's.
I'm excited to see what will, like you said, will replace it, so you don't have that one that's always locked in.
Yeah, there's a for tanking it's tough because like a lot of the embellishments are pretty like damage based. I feel. But there's one that I was looking at for, it's like a plate helm that might be my new Sporecloak. Because it has kind of like that, at above, at this health you get buff, at below this you get absorb. So it kind of has that effect. So that might replace it for me. But I think it'll be it'll be fine to start off the season with Sporecloak. I think if you just crafted Sporecloak, we talked about
definitely.
this earlier.
I agree.
That it's like if you crafted a Sporecloak, don't feel like you have to disenchant it and go throw it in the trash. I think you still get some decent use out of it coming into season 3.
It'll definitely still hold value because you'll still get some good value for the first maybe even month or so, depending on how you progress as a guild, as a player.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you're you're definitely not going to take it into, you won't be taking it into heroic, and you probably won't be taking it into plus 16s. But it'll last you. It'll do what it needs to until you replace it. And it was great while it lasted, and I loved it, and
it definitely helped me in Mythic Plus. So for that, I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like how Necrolord was for me in Shadowlands. How having Fleshcraft was, now it's not quite the same because Fleshcraft I could use when I wanted it, but just having another defensive that, even if it is a passive, you have up here in your head where you can play around with that. And I don't know, Marksman still, and this is my soapbox, I'll get off of it, but Marksman has, it's a weird issue with PvE versus PvP, because you don't want to give us another strong PV or just a defensive, because in PvP then we're way stronger than we need to be. But then over here on PvE we hurt, and it's not just Marksman, it's all 3 hunter specs. So that's this whole conversation was, for me at least, was less of a Sporecloak getting nerfed and more the fact that they have some work to do with Hunter. Particularly, we're still in that needs developer intervention or whatever. In all the tier videos.
Yeah, I can't open my my dragon mouth about that because I'm playing a hacked class at the moment. So
don't say it too loud.
Yeah, don't let anybody gaslight you. Evoker's nuts right now in survivability. They're great. Aug is nuts. If anybody's saying otherwise, they're insane. It's good.
It is good. And
Pally tank.
Pally
We're
tank is
amazing. I don't know.
Yep. I mean,
Best class.
you have bubble hearth. Things aren't working out in raid and
Yeah,
Mythic
yeah,
Plus.
just leave. Leave.
I give up. That's it.
That's what I want to do with I guess this is the nice thing. So I don't pug. I say I'm allergic to pugging, so I don't. So I either make groups, get guild groups, talk to friends, network, if you will, so to speak, because it definitely showed this season where there were weeks where like hunters in general, like you just didn't see them, and one of those was with some of the new affixes that they put in for season 2. And it's what? Entangled. What was the other one? I can never remember what it's called.
Afflicted.
For the new ones,
Incorporeal.
So I can deal with incorporeal, but the one you said, yeah, the afflicted, not so much. So and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. I mean, as a hunter, as a marksman hunter, whatever, if I don't have to deal with a mechanic or an affix, and somebody else can do that, and I can just pump damage, who's to say I won't let them? And enjoy it while it happens. But unfortunately, that does have a problem for those weeks where, guess what? You're not going to get invited to groups because you can't deal with the mechanic. And that is frustrating. And I'm hoping that if they do prune, like in the future, if they do prune or add affixes to Mythic Plus, I'm sure they'll do some sort of rotation eventually. They're going to build up enough of these. Maybe Skittering or Skittish or whatever will come back. And
Don't fucking say that. Shut up. What?
What? Hey, I can help you deal with that.
How dare you?
Of course. Joking. We don't want that one to come back.
Yeah,
Infested
teaming's where it's at.
Yeah, teaming, infested, you guys can stay where you can stay back in BFA where you belong.
Beguiling, where you at? That's
okay. No. Beguiling and Toll to Gore. That's
yeah.
I threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Just put Beguiling directly into Thorn of Tides. Just do it now.
But the best part is she's just in the middle of the room where you can't do anything about
We're
it.
gonna get canceled.
She's with the boss.
This is where.
Well, we hit our tangent button.
We did it, guys.
Tangent. So that was the long form of saying, what do you guys think of the new affixes? Did you like the fact that we didn't have the full seasonal affix? I think I'm probably in agreement to say that they did. I mean, Zaf talked about it a little bit earlier. And what do you think of the new affixes? Good, bad, otherwise?
Tackle this one, Glitch. Get in there.
I think overall good. But I think I might be a little bit biased because I do have something on both classes that I was playing that I could do to both new affixes, and entangling was easy to deal with. It's not necessarily something you always want with your affix, right? Like that it doesn't matter and you can just ha and not care about it. But I felt like it was at least like there were definitely moments where you're like, oh, I gotta deal with this, but also Assad's about to do his cone and there's an entangling about to spawn. What do I do? And I know, moment to moment gameplay like that that makes you think and is interesting. That's appealing to me, right? And they did a little bit of that, They did a fair amount of that. I think they were okay successes, overall successes. I'm not saying they were perfect, and they needed a lot of iteration to get there. If they had launched in any way that they were looking at the PTR, where they were way faster spawning, a lot less classes had the ability to deal with them. If they had launched in that way, I would be miserable. But they didn't. They made them feel fair. There were even some very fun interactions, like you can mind control one as a priest, and that's cool. That's cool. I feel bad for Greeley because he would look at some of these and be like, hey, finger guns at the afflicted.
No, I think the best thing was we were trying to get our portal run in Uldaman on Dios at the very end. And if you guys go back and you listen, so whenever we get a portal run, I take the last little bit, the toast and put it at the front, and you hear as soon as I cut it, I guess I cut this bit out, but I had just said, "Oh, it's back here." And then all you hear is Glitch going, "Where is it? Did you do it?" And I'm like, "Oh no, it's fine."
Yeah,
But just
yeah.
like there were situations where we're in the heat of everything going on, and I'm just like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna deal with
It's over
that.
there.
It's over
Just
here."
staring at him. He's like, "Don't worry, I got this." You know.
Yeah.
He's
So
just
I'm
putting
just
them
like
out to
seeing
us.
the entire battlefield. I'm just like, "Hey guys, you wanna do something about that?" And then if it doesn't get done, it's not that it's on you guys. Oh, you didn't do it. But that's just it feels bad for me because I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
if I had the means, it's not like I don't want to do it.
yeah. If only,
But
right?
yeah.
So something that I don't know why they didn't do. Well, maybe it was just difficult to code or whatever. But I would have solved that problem for hunters with afflicted a very easy way. Just give it an enrage,
Mhm.
and
Oh
then
yeah.
and I understand that also makes it very easy for other classes to deal with. But I feel like it's reasonable. Just give it one of the debuffs that it has. That if you cleanse, it goes away. Is an enrage. Boom, and you can trank shot it. I think the afflicted is an ally right now, but still, just I don't know, make it work. I mean, the Incorp is a no type mob, which is super weird, and they did it to be able to make it function. I don't know, just try and make it work. Armchair development,
No,
it's
so
not
it basically it's all of a sudden getting taken over by the void, and I have to trank it. So now
something.
it's not mind
Yeah,
controlled anymore.
Yeah, I
Something
don't
like
know.
that. That
And
could
then
be make it work, Blizzard. You can do
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Also, I will say, and I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, Zeph. I don't know if you were going to
no,
say
no, no,
something
you're
else.
fine.
One of the reasons that I think this season's affixes were good is because of the one affix that did not make it in, which was explosive and what they were doing on the PTR. Oh boy, that was bad. And just by virtue of it not being in the state that it might have been in, +1. Let's go. Big fan of that.
So yeah, so explosive it meant nothing to me. Anytime that it would come up, I was always like, I guess, I'll try and get it if I can, but like whatever. And then the other two that were removed, Quaking and Grievous. Grievous kind of is whatever. And Quaking always felt awful whenever it felt like it purposefully picked the worst times to happen. And the only dungeon that they really fixed it on was Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, when they were like, everybody has to group up for the worm. Don't worry, we'll cleanse Quaking for you. Any other fight though, where you gotta group up,
You're on
get
your own.
wrecked, get wrecked,
Yeah.
idiots.
You want to know something I just noticed? That I just thought about.
Hmm.
Quaking's not one of the affixes, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't. When you said that, I was like, no, it's a. Is it? No.
No, you're thinking of volcanic.
By the
Well,
way,
so with quaking, I don't deal with it because it doesn't interrupt me.
So it also
except
doesn't
if you
interrupt me, but it does a lot of damage to my melee.
That's fair. Although, to be fair, I figured out that you can, if you time it perfectly, you can interrupt yourself
Oh yeah.
using arcane shot. As soon as it goes off, at like the split second, I have been arcane locked, which is super fun to deal with. Didn't know that was a thing, but
So as a prop paladin, the new affixers for me, I really liked, and you may be thinking, well, of course, you have answers for all of them, but I like them for the simple fact that it made me think about my talents, and you can ask Oddwin about this because he did the same thing. Our resident rep paladin.
Crusade.
Yeah, Crusade, man. That we would be like, oh wait, it's this week. I need to have this. So like Entangled, there's a talent in the Paladin tree that is when you put freedom on somebody, you will also get freedom on yourself. So Entangled, all you would do is, especially if it was me and Oddwin at a party, 4 people can just completely ignore the Entangled mechanic. And then you have Afflicted. I always run Cleanse to run that, although I wouldn't often have to worry about it because I would have people like Glitch and Cowpow taking care of those. But I mean, there's other things to cleanse. So like if I gotta jump in there and cleanse them instead, then I would help out. But like Incorporeal was like it felt cool to be like, hey, I get to use turn evil.
Yeah.
Or turn undead. I haven't used turn undead in like
Who presses
10
that?
years.
Yeah.
Who's using turn undead? And the fact that it made paladins spec into that, and it's literally 1 point, and most of them you can just get to it. Just 1 point. That feels cool when an affix makes you relook at your talent tree.
Agreed.
So for that, and I will say, I think what really helped the affixes, and it helped the transition from the seasonal affix to the non-seasonal affix, is that instead of doing the levels that the affixes come out at. So everybody has the base affix of fortified or tyrannical, but then it's like, oh, you don't get your first affix until +7. And then you don't get your second one until +7
affix.
You don't get your 7th affix until you're in a 30. There's gonna be one season that they're like,
welcome
hey,
to Faded Mythic Plus.
They're gonna be like, hey, if you get to like a +25, guess what? You get a 3rd affix. Like that's just that's that. Mark it here. I'm gonna link this.
This is the reason why people hate us.
In 2028,
putting these ideas out there.
To be on Reddit, find this video, and be like,
well,
this
apparently
idiot.
They knew somebody watched because we did the last the first episode was our thoughts on what we wanted to see, our wish list for BlizzCon, and somehow I made like an off comment. It was just like, I don't think it's going to be, time for them to be giving us a D4 expansion or anything. We're too early for that. But then, lo and behold, like one of the first things they're like, oh, by the way, expansion. So I'm like, oh, crap, this is my fault. I did it. I should have realized once they started giving. So I keep getting this email. Diablo 4 is 44% off. And I'm like, that should have been my first inkling that, hey, they're probably already. Yeah, pretty much. They just want my money.
Yeah, they just
they know that I just got married, so I have gift money.
Yep.
And they're like, now you know what we can do. We can earmark that gift money for a heroic edition of War Within.
Don't tell your wife.
Yeah.
Don't tell your wife about the expansion, Greeley.
Buy the heroic edition.
I already told her about it, actually.
Buy the heroic edition to get 3 days early access.
3 days.
Yeah. I'll reserve my opinion for that.
Was there more than? Well, this is our tangent button. Boo 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 boo.
Tangent.
What else do you get with that buff or that? Is it? There's more to it than just that, right?
Yeah, it's you get some game time. You get a mount. You get an additional armor piece.
So you get a mount, you get the armor set, you get a pet, you have a level boost, there's a toy, tokens, game time.
The little thing you ride as well, that carnival.
That's the toy.
Yeah.
There's a Hearthstone.
1,000 tendies.
And then I think there's stuff in it. That one's just the.
It's not like it's a horrible deal. It's just that it is fairly pricey, and that is such a shitty addition to put in there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and the fact that that's like they could have added a bunch more goodies in there.
Yeah,
that 3 days is what's gonna stick in people's craw.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that doesn't matter. Like you could give me $150 worth of mounts and all that fun stuff. That's cool and all, particularly for Zaft and I, who are gonna get a bunch of +1s. But that does suck. Like just like, oh, by the way, if you want to get 3 days head start, gonna buy this one.
I guess beta access as well is kind of weird.
Yeah, that was very odd. So are they telling us they're going to do an actual closed beta unless you pay up then?
I hope not. I hope it's.
I feel like that wouldn't be good for the health of the game.
No, it would not.
I don't think that they'll only have I think they'll have an open beta at some point. hope.
Yeah,
I hope so. Yeah.
I think that would be a bad choice.
Yep.
To do with the closed only.
I will say, as somebody who already has bought the Epic Edition because I'm a dweeb, I can do without the 3 days because and me and Glitch talked about this a little bit, that it's like I go hard on the first week of an expansion. We end up getting max level in like within 10 hours, like very quickly we get to max level.
You were 70 before I had logged in.
Yeah. And that's like but that's how I do that. I take the week off. I have the ability to do that. I take the week off. I take the time. I get a decent amount of rest to log in, and then I go. But like, if I'm not doing that with friends, then like, why?
What's the point? Yeah.
Yeah. Like me and Glitch race, and yeah. Like what's
you're like, great, I'm level 80 and there's only,
hello.
That's exactly what it's gonna be. Like that's like, yeah, like
all the $90 Andes. Oh, hello there.
Yeah, I'm gonna
just finger guns at each other.
Hey, Petals and Blatnos and Asmongold just standing around with our hands in our pockets, like
minus $90 as well.
Hey,
110 Canadian. Yeah, that just.
This is the longest tangent zone. This is the big
tangent. This all right. This is fun, but yeah, so this is just a little taste. We will be talking about our thoughts on BlizzCon, particularly the Warcraft side of things. It may not be the next stream, but it'll probably be stream 4. We're trying to. I said stream. I meant streaming, not streaming, recording, not recording. You know what I mean. Anyway, so the probably the 4th episode, most likely. We're trying to get things nailed down, and I guess this is also a good time to mention I will actually put the email in the body of this video, so be sure and check it out. Leave us an email and leave us a comment in that email and let us know, something you'd like for us to talk about on the stream. Questions, we're going to have like a Q&A little bit, usually at the end of the stream. But so that's kind of I said stream again, video. So that's kind of like, I guess, Mythic Plus in a nutshell. I don't know about you guys, but I felt like this was the best season for us for Mythic Plus as Drexit. Not the 3 of us as people, but like for Drexit as a whole, I think that this was probably our best season. Like, it wasn't just the usual suspects that were, us plus one other that'll get, Keystone Master or whatever. Like, we had over a full group of Keystone Heroes, which prior to this season, had you guys had Keystone Hero before?
Did we get it for the last season?
We got it season 1
in Shadowlands.
We did not. We didn't get it.
I know we had a more than a few dungeons done, right? But I don't think we got all of them. I didn't because of obviously the stuff going on at that time.
Season 4 Shadowlands. I don't think I'd get Keystone Hero. We spent a lot of our time in season 4 just getting people KSM. Me and you, really. We were doing a lot of like 16, 17s. Just to get KSM. But yeah. No, I didn't get KSH though.
Gotcha. But I mean, so that just goes to show you, like, you guys are great players, and we hadn't got to that point yet. Because it's one thing to want to do it. It's another to have a group of 5 and then 6, 7, 8, 9. Because I think we had upwards of 6 to 9 somewhere in there. Keystone Heroes. Many of those were for the first time, and I think that I can't wait, even though the dungeon pool is kind of crappy for this next season, and if we have to just go in at a 20 and get our Adeldazar done and then never speak of that place again, and Waycrest Manor.
Oh my god!
I just realized both of those are in there.
You want me to hit you with the Gambit?
Yeah.
Dawn of the Infinite.
There it is.
That's
the true threat in the darkness.
the literal rise and fall, Waycrest Manor, a Tall Dazar, the Throne of the Tides, and then it's these three are the
We're
ones
paying for this
that I'm
season.
like these ones are fine, but like Blackrock Hold I'm not super stoked about. I didn't really like Blackrock Hold. Everbloom I didn't really like. The only dungeon that I'm like this is fine is Darkheart Thicket.
Darkheart, yep.
This is the only one that I'm like,
There.
yeah, I fuck with Darkheart Thicket.
Now,
Yeah.
to be fair, on the PTR, there has been a lot of changes to Dawn of the Infinite. Not only in tweaking of numbers, but also in tweaking of like how fights work, how trash works, that type of thing. The last time that happened was Brackenhide. So we can hope that it works out.
I'm hoping
and
beyond
I'm willing to
hope.
give them the benefit of the doubt there.
Oh yeah, like I'm hoping beyond hope that like we go in here pleasantly surprised by things being updated, or
Yeah.
maybe I go in and we're just like I could go into Everbloom and be like, oh, I don't remember this being like I remember this, but like, oh, this feels good,
Yeah.
So, like everything could change when we get into an actual key and we actually start feeling them out. But yeah, just at face value, I'm not thrilled, but
No, me neither. Yeah. And
Yeah, it looks like we went from like a hey, there's two bad key or like one or two bad keys this season, and we're like, maybe we don't want to do that. And now you get like the rogues gallery of like,
yeah.
but
I'm
that's
waiting on you.
but that's after the fact, we can look at them and be like, oh, there's only one or two. Like at the beginning, it was still like, oh, there's one or two of these ones that I'm not that are like about. Even in season 1, it was like, Halls of Valor or whatever. Like it was before we knew that Ruby Life Pools was gonna be a nightmare. Like
We shall not speak of it.
Nobody saw that one coming.
I'm speaking.
Nobody expected to get buzzsawed in Ruby Life Pools. Oh man.
It just didn't expect that. It's like, oh, like this is a fine spread. Like everything felt very mid in season. Like everything looked very fine, and it ended up being a pretty good season. And then season 2, like Brackenhide and Halls of Infusion, that kind of sucks. But like Freeholds coming back and Underrot's coming back, and like Vortex Pinnacle, like a Cataclysm dungeon.
Yeah.
But like this is like one that I'm zero,
You're
not
like,
zero,
but pretty zero hype for.
Yeah.
Darkheart's gonna be fun. At least I'm gonna have fun in it.
I'm gonna have
I at least Darkheart has some cool quotable lines,
Mhm.
and I mean, that's what the podcast is named after. We
Yeah.
love our quotable lines, so I'm looking forward to that at
In the
the very least.
That's
In
right.
the mountains.
in the mountains.
I've personally, I do feel that Blackrock Hold will be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I don't hate that dungeon. So I hope it has good representation. But then it's all downhill. Just like
Yeah.
if you told me, okay, so Darkheart and Blackrock, what other dungeon are you looking forward to? I would have to really sit here and make pro-con lists for an hour because it's not an easy choice after that. None of them look appealing.
Well, speaking of Blackrock Hold, we're going to have to learn how to do that second fight right.
I have no, that boss, I don't know. It's got lasers. She throws a glaive.
She goes zoom, move. Like, that's going to be very interesting.
Who gets targeted? I don't know. There's ads that we haven't seen in 8 years because they never spawn in the time walk. What do they do in the keep? I don't know. Who's looking forward to getting one shot in the last boss? Right before you get the buff, but the first Shadow Bolt volley goes out. The real buzzsaw.
the Tau railgun comes out.
Yeah. Looking forward to that one. That was gonna be real fun.
That's gonna be me without my Sporecloak.
That's gonna be cheat death. Thank God. Augmentation.
I just know that the first time we run in there, we're gonna be like, oh yeah, we have to deal with boulders falling down the staircase again.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my white whale.
That's gonna be great. you're gonna Shadowflame skateboard around the corner, and then we're gonna see you flying backwards as a boulder just whomps you.
I wonder what the bats are gonna be like. Like, are they gonna hit exponentially
Deadly.
harder? Yeah, like I wonder how that's gonna work.
Oh god.
Also, nobody thinks about it, but that hallway with the demons that are like all about trinkets and whatever, right after one of the boulder hallways.
Worm tongues.
With the with the flame breath.
We're going to want to Mongo pull that hallway, and we're going to wipe doing it over and over and over.
That's going to be a pull
be fun.
Where it's going to be like a spray and pray. So I'm going to be around the corner. Zaph's going to run out there. I'm going to misdirect him. Zaph's going to run out there. I'll, pop, pop, pop. And then I'm just going to unload and pray I'm not dead.
Yep.
That's it.
I'm going to have to. It's going to be bubble followed immediately by like time dilation, and then maybe a Guardian of the Ancient Kings, and that's even if I have any of those up at that moment.
You might still die.
On top of that, the first week will somehow be bolstering, and you have this ginormous freaking dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
We don't know. We don't know what first week is, do we?
I don't believe so.
No, I don't know. But you know that the week that we finally get that key and we're like, you know what? No, we're going to stress test regardless of what it is. We're going to do it, and it's going to be that week, and we're going to take out him and his buddies, but that last worm tongue is going to be like, all right, which one are you? Then you,
loving
then you.
Like I'm like an enraged boss.
And then it's going to be me over here using my cuffs, like, come on, come on, come on. No, I'm dead. Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be great.
And then we'll
looking forward to that.
Be like, you know what really would have made this pull? If we all had Sporecloaks, I think we could have survived. If they didn't nerf Sporecloak, we could have survived.
Well, I mean, if it's the first couple of weeks, it still could be. I'm still gonna be running with mine.
Here's the super secret strat, and I don't know if you guys have realized this. The super secret strat is we get as many of the first part. I think it's the first part of Dawn of the Infinites, and we get that cheat death trinket on freaking everybody. And that's how we get past some stuff on 20s. You're laughing, but maybe,
Yeah, but then we have to do
if it gets the portals, it gets the portals.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to looking back, nostalgia-wise, I think Season 2 overall was a great thing for our guild. For us as individuals, because I think we did an amazing job of pushing, learned things about our characters, what works, what doesn't work, and upped our skill level. I'd say overall, our knowledge of the dungeons, because some of those you have to. Knowing what your character's kit in particular can deal with, what it can't, and what it can't do, survive. But it's gonna be exciting to see if we can take that mindset of, like, for example, sometimes we're like, well, we're not a mythic guild, so we don't do mythic things. But we're a Keystone Master guild. Like, we're gonna go get our mounts, we're gonna do this. But now it's not just a few people. Like, no, Keystone Hero and maybe beyond is a real possibility. And I'm excited to see players that are not us continue to want to progress and do more keys. That's more people that we can run with, more people that we can enjoy these experiences with. And I'm just hoping that the Rogues Gallery selection doesn't buzzsaw that for Season 3.
Doesn't sweep the leg,
Oh, God, sweep the leg. No kidding. But I guess we'll just have to see we'll probably do a Season 3 retrospective in 5 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
Will the podcast be going?
Yeah,
believe
it. Absolutely it will.
So that's half of Season 2. I'm going to put Season 2 Mythic Plus and 10.1, 0.1.5, 0.7 all together for raid as well. So our guild, Drex, it hasn't been raiding. Unfortunately, we don't. Our other evoker doesn't have his claw yet. But yeah, but we haven't been raiding in what? Has it been 2 months, 3 months, 2 months?
Something like that. It's been a while.
It's been crazy. So maybe this is not as fresh in our minds since we have been doing some like lower keys to help our friends that are coming back to the game. Which, by the way, some of these friends haven't played since Legion, so we're
Mm-hmm.
so excited to have them back. They're going
Yeah.
to be a huge asset to our group, even if it's just afflicting us with puns. I'm two people with puns. I'm all for that. But Aberrus, do you think it was better than Vault of the Incarnates? Do you think it was worse? I'll let you start, Zaft.
Can I say it's the same?
Same. Okay, that's an
Can I,
answer.
can I say it? I I didn't mind Aberrus. I think I liked Vault a little better.
Okay.
Oh, uh, sorry, I gotta like
You're
refresh my
like,
Vault might as well have been
what
20
bosses
years
were in
ago.
these raids?
Yeah, right. Uh, like
Well,
what is it?
that's also a bad thing for a raid if you don't remember the
Yeah, it is.
bosses.
Yeah, it's
Like a forgettable.
But
Yeah.
looking at these bosses, like I don't know, some of them were pretty decent, but I don't know, they kind of fall in the same, not bad. Like
Mhm.
I don't think either of them were awful or bad raids. I think they were all it was very mid in the raid scene. I think I maybe it's just us getting way more into Mythic Plus these first two seasons. Um
That could
and
be.
and maybe it might have been that, but like very much the same. I maybe a little, maybe slightly less than. I like Vault of the Incarnates slightly more, just
Okay, that's fair.
ever so slightly.
And what do you think, Glitch?
I think I go in the other direction. I think I like Aberrus slightly more
That's fair.
than Vault. I think they're pretty close though. But it honestly it just comes down to a couple of bosses. Like if I think of the bosses that I liked in Vault versus the bosses that I liked in Aberrus, and this comes from somebody that tanked a lot of them, right?
Mm.
Uh, Maybe all of them in Aberrus, actually. I think most of them, at any rate.
Pretty
Uh,
close, yeah.
yeah, versus DPSing a lot of them in Vault. I feel like I enjoyed Aberrus a little bit more, just theming wise, just encounter wise. I don't know, maybe like pacing wise as well. Yeah, the raid was a little bit easier in parts. Looking at you, Magmarax. What a
I'll
boy!
go off about Magmarax.
What a disappointment.
We'll save that for a few more minutes. I'll
Yeah,
let you go off then.
So upset.
but I don't know. I feel like if you think of vault bosses, like yeah, Dathia was interesting, not terribly annoying, but not terribly innovative or crazy either.
Mm.
Same thing with Tarot. Same thing with Council. Kind of just falls over and gives you insane trinkets. I don't know.
Mm.
Even like I think the boss that felt aside from Razageth, because Razageth is a great fight. That in and of itself, I think.
Razageth was an amazing fight, and
Yeah,
I will say that I liked Razageth. I think that's kind of what sells me on it. Razageth. I
yeah.
liked that fight more than Sark.
Razageth pulls a lot of weight, I think, for Vault. But I think if you say okay, yeah, but it's a final boss and it's a big epic, kind of show, right? But if you think of all the other bosses, the only one that comes to mind is Broodkeeper, and it's only if you're in the boss side of things doing the dance, right? Like the tank show, the couple of people doing key roles. Half of the party's just AoEing. Which is fun, yeah, big numbers, but
What? You mean I can sit there and go,
I don't know.
I,
It's
I guess that's true because like I'm coming at this strictly from a tank perspective, and a lot of the fights in Vault felt more tank dynamic. So I think like only like one or two where I was like the tanks aren't like the only one that I was like, the tanks are kind of like doing whatever is Sinarth. The spider boss like that was kind of like not a whole lot of tank like dynamicism to it, and Aranog I guess, but like Taros had some cool tank plays to do. Primal Council felt like pretty cool for tanks, at the very least, because like you're balancing these three things. Dathia, with the fact that me and Barry were able to pull off the wildest strat for Dathia, I still don't know how we did that. I explained that to Tipsy's group, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "This is how." I'm like, "What are you?"
We're killing the boss. What are you doing?
I'm like, "We're gonna kill the boss. This is what I don't like. Don't worry, it's fine. It's where." And they're like, "It's working," and I'm like, "Yeah." Like Grim Totem felt like good as a tank, and even like Broodkeeper. Like I was on the AOE group, and like I was like hustling, like Paladin, finding ways to sprint across a large arena to get to stuff. And then Razageth was just like really cool. I felt like there weren't as many like really dynamic tank fights. And the only
one exception.
There's one very I mean, Sakarn is a very dynamic tank fight, and I did end up falling in love with it. But like even like Neltharion and Sark, like those are pretty dynamic fights, but like the rest of them, like Rashok, I got to flex the fact that I have a bubble. Assault of Zakali is AoE fest,
Yeah.
Forgotten Experience just hurts. I don't know.
The fact that on heroic, because I don't remember if I was there for heroic. No, I wasn't. So for you guys that haven't watched my videos at the beginning of the season, I didn't live stream this season any of our kills because I would routinely be an hour plus late to raid. So there was a lot of times where I would either leave early or I would come way late, and I missed these fights. But I was listening to them in Discord doing this fight, and they're like, well, we got 10 minutes left in raid for the night after they had just went, 3 of however many bosses there were. And we're like, let's just pull it. Let's just do a meme pull and try it, right? Yeah. And then they one-shot it.
Looks at it.
And
one-shot as well.
And I think it was Star was like, so what do we do with the beam? And Glitch is just like, I don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea.
And we still don't know.
We still don't know. There's a beam in Assault that, for all I know, insta-kills the boss if you draw a design around him with the beam. I have no idea. I'm never going to know. We never found out. We literally got up there with 10-minute raid time and pulled it once, and it died.
Yeah.
And we were just standing around looking at each other like, yep.
So do we lose the gear or what?
The most hilarious part about that is that in my mind, I'm going, you freaking idiot. You should have brought the raid group here first. That is so clear now. But
so long wiping on Forgotten Experiments because that fucking sucks.
Because they hurt, yeah. Because I mean, and sure that boss had tier, but in my mind I'm like, oh my god, had I known, if I had realized this is definitely where we would have gone. That's happened a couple of times before, and I'm always like, oh god, nobody noticed.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
So Greeley, which one do you like more?
Oh yeah, we have that. So I'm going to preface this by saying, in Shadowlands, I made this video from a marksman hunter point of view, and I said I really enjoyed the first raid. I enjoyed Denathrius, so I'm going to say this: I really enjoyed Vault of Incarnates for what it was, and I did not get to see it fully because, like with Broodkeeper, you guys killed it and progressed on it without me. 100% without me. I was not there for that. So you're telling me about this is the thing we did, and other groups are thinking this is crazy, and I'm over here like, I don't know what we did. Yeah. So it's very interesting because I'm getting the outsider's point of view for that being in the group. But then I said I liked Sanctum of Domination better, the second raid, and I'm going to halfway say that for Aberrus. As a raid, I enjoyed Aberrus more. I liked the flavor of the raid. I felt that overall things, I'm going to use this term, flowed appropriately. Like, there's not a boss that I'm like, that doesn't belong here, type thing. I felt like it flowed very well. Now, I'm going to say that to say this. My overall experience, though, I'd probably say Vault was better. Primarily because I loved Razagath, like you said. It had a big time feel, and yeah, some of it could be really punishing. But when you got it, you're like, oh boy, we got it. And then we very rarely wiped after that, unless we had the berry effect going on, and then we wiped all the time. But and for those of you guys that don't know, shout out to Barry. The berry effect is when we wipe on something over and over and over that we've killed over and over and over, because of course we do.
Because we've become like complacent.
Pretty much.
When we get to the point where we've perfected it and everybody knows where they need to stand and everybody's doing what they need to do, and so then everybody gets bored and stops paying attention.
And I'm just not gonna move to the heal, and I'm just gonna stand back here at 46 yards.
They'll heal me. It's fine.
I think here, like now, like really thinking about like the difference between the Razageth and the Sarkareth fight, and I think what really did it for me is like when we were progressing on Razageth, even when we were wiping and like stuff was happening and people were like dying to the dumbest things, it was always really funny. No matter, because you would sit there and we would sit there and we'd be like, all right, we all got to stack up on this spot, like everybody get in like the thing to make sure you don't get blown off, and then you're just watching one person and you're like, do they have the cooldown up to do it? Like, is Eben gonna pop? Like, is he gonna do the thing? Or like, you'll see somebody and you see him walking and then just right off the platform, and it's like that's funny to me. Like, that's hilarious.
I think it's hilarious that you were having that issue, not because you couldn't dodge things, because you were having internet issues, and so we knew you were there. But all of a sudden, your character would like lag out or whatever, so you would actually just zoom right freaking through the slow patches. You just blocked that out.
Lagging straight through but even that was I struggled. Like at the time, I was freaking out because I felt like I was letting the guild down is what it was. And I know that everybody was like, hey, listen, you can't control your internet right now. You're in a weird spot. But at the time, I felt like I was like ruining progression. But like, again, like bring Barry in here, ask him how he felt, and he'd be like, yeah, it was freaking hilarious watching Zaf fly through the patch that to stop him from doing. That's hilarious. That's funny. Like,
while running in place,
yeah,
while doing like a Shield of the Righteous animation or something.
Got the hammers flying around.
Yeah.
Like I got to like, I don't know, Razageth let me like Razageth had mechanics that were like, everybody spawns an orb that you have to interrupt, and then it spawns a second orb that you have to interrupt. It put the onus on everybody to do something. Mm-hmm. We were using mechanics that like we weren't using in other fights. Like we had big root mechanics coming out from Glitch and like in-cap roars. I specifically would save Divine Toll for that on the off chance, because if for whatever reason one of them spawned and it was like on the other side of Razageth as we're getting blown back, my shield would reach over there and I didn't need to like target it or anything. It would just go. So it was like, that's helpful. And it was cool. You didn't get a lot of that with like we got to do cool stuff with Sarkareth, but Razageth felt like a really like epic fight. Sarkareth felt cool, but
oh yeah. So I think honestly, Blizzard's 2 of 2 for end bosses. Like I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed them overall. But yeah, Razageth definitely felt like it was a when you killed, bigger deal, like higher stakes, bigger deal. The fight had that big fight feel without being Sylvanas.
Yeah.
Like levels.
Yeah, it wasn't like a 15-minute fight.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about what our favorite fights, right? You kind of alluded to it. So
all right, let me talk about my least favorite fight, Magmarax. That boss can eat a fat one. I don't like. It was just so boring. It was so boring.
So for context for you guys, we kind of that was what we were kind of discussing just before I hit record. And my question to Zaft, and I think Magmarax for me could have been a great fight. And we kind of talked about what maybe could have made it better. But my question to Zaft, and he kind of already answered it for us, but I'll let him answer it for you guys. If you moved Magmarax, I guess preface this by also saying you went from like a really tough encounter, particularly on heroic for progression early on, and then you jump into Magmarax and you're like expecting like, okay, we're gonna give this a shot. We're doing the same thing we did with Assault, and then you pull the fight and you're like, I think there's gonna be another mechanic. I think there's gonna be another mechanic. So if you moved him to the very front, like let's just swap places with the first boss. Do you think that helps? Do you think it makes it easier? What do you think?
I don't think it does. I don't think it. I think legitimately Magmarax he was supposed to have, like, that boss was supposed to have another mechanic. I wholeheartedly believe that, to my core, that there was supposed to be something else to that fight. With the way that the fight is and the platform that he is on, it makes you feel like you're like, hey, like, we're on this platform surrounded by lava. There's 4 big chains going up. Maybe like he does a stomp. He has it's 2 minutes every stomp. Like, that's a classic, like, hey, you have 4 stomps before this entire thing sinks into the lava and it's done. You are like that's good mechanic time. Like, that's good boss timing of, like, that's what, 2, 4, 6, and 8 minute fight. That's pretty decent for either a fight that it's like, hey, after 8 minutes this thing just sinks, or like every 2 minutes the the lava encroaches from a corner and encroaches from another corner and it reduces your space, almost like what's his face from Kuma Sargeras, right, where you're losing out on like actual space.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would have made it more dynamic and better. But it was just a boring fight. And
I think if they would have done like the lava kind of encroaches in, that would have been a fun change to that fight.
And I think you bring up a good point that like Magmarax comes right after Sakarn, and ask anybody who like did Sakarn, like, that is a tough fight. That is not a fight that you take lightly. Like, that's a fight that, like, you get hard berry affected in. Like, the minute you stop paying attention, you die on that fight, because you really got to make plays, especially as a tank. Like, it's positioning. It's we're running around picking up bombs, putting, like, getting, like, there's a lot of damage going on. It gets more tactical. It's this very intense fight, and then it's like, all right, Magmarax. Like,
I don't know do we one-shot Magmarax or no?
Yeah.
So me very dejectedly saying there's nothing going on is in the recording. Do you have
more than likely, actually? Assuming that I posted the first one.
That's funny.
More than likely. I'll have to go back and watch.
That sums up my feelings of Magmarax. Is when mid pull, during that first pull, I say, "This is that's all. This is the entire fight, isn't it?" And I think Tipsy says, "Yeah, I was afraid of this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
Because there are other fights that it's like, all right, we've seen all of the fight that there is. It's just gonna get faster, or stuff's gonna start overlapping. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Nothing, like, there's no, like, huge overlap. Stuff gets a little tighter, but, like, it's not like, oh no, it's like, all right, we have a little bit less time.
So much so that I can meme around as a survival hunter and be like, hey, I'm gonna play this. Is this cool on this, like, not penultimate boss, but what's just before penultimate? I don't know. That one, yeah.
That one.
Like 2 bosses before the end of the raid, and you're going to let me meme around on a survival hunter that I don't know how to play. Although, have to admit, Harpoon gameplay, hell of a lot of fun. And also, helped me clear the mage tower, because I kind of learned a little bit of a rotation. So, win-win for me.
And that's the other thing. I was playing a tank that the only tank who has no answer to, well, I have one answer, but I'm the only tank that almost can't do anything about the knockback. And I was still like, this is a boring fight.
Yeah.
But as soon as
you solved the problem, yeah.
I did. I got grapnel and I held on to that. There's a 437 grapnel still sitting in my bags, just in case.
Just in case, yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Never know. Never know.
It's an amazing. It's a great trinket, but it's either I use that and have it up all the time, or like I bubble the first couple or the first one. That's it. But like get knocked back, horse, run back. All right, I'm here.
Woo, mechanic.
Yeah. And it's not like even like the I don't know, like the tank debuff wasn't like a frontal. Like we could have spun that boss around for the entirety of the fight and it wouldn't have changed it, you know?
That's true.
Like
yeah, and it's so weird. I'm just thinking back because I was doing my whole vault of incarnates, comparing it to Aberrus. Like Sark was a fine fight. Zakarn was a good fight. Like you felt accomplished when you killed it. Like okay, hey,
absolutely.
like we just really did progress. But there's not that many like memorable fights. Like for me at least.
I like
Sarkareth again was fine, and so was Echo.
Yeah, it's Zakarn, Echo, and Sark. They're probably my 3 favorite fights in that. And like I like Rashok, but that's again strictly because I got to sit there and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna bubble this one," and we just negated a tank combo. Like that's a cool feeling to be able to really utilize my class like that. That's cool. Assault of Zakali is whatever. Forgotten Experiments, like I said, it hurt, but like once we got better gear, it's like no, it's nothing.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I'm hoping that Amidrasil will have a fight that's like, yes, this is my favorite fight. Because for me right now, it's Council because I got to flex my marksman hunter. Like this is a marksman fight.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. And that's like it's not a very good way to gauge a fight because otherwise it's kind of like, it's all right. Gives a baller trinket. You can flex your muscles and do minimal mechanics until it lands on you, and then everybody is spreading the mechanic, and then you die, and you learn from that. But I'm hoping that the new raid will have something that I can be like, yes, this is what I want. This is dragonflight in a boss for me. Because if they don't, and Farok isn't an amazing fight, it's going to be Razageth for me. That's going to be the fight that defines my raiding experience in Dragonflight.
And honestly, I'm gonna be judging Fyrakk strictly based on whether Freebird will fit into that at all. Because if I can't Freebird
so that's a good point.
Fyrakk, then what's the point?
So here's the thing about Freebird is you're not gonna be playing it on Fyrakk. You're gonna be playing it on Tindral.
All right, that's fine. If I can, all right, one boss, that's fine. I'll take it.
And it will fit. Trust me.
Oh, no, I know. Right. I know what you're talking about now. Okay, I'm putting 2 to 2. I didn't know the name of the fight, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
because I've watched the boss videos.
I'm trying not to spoil too much in case A, people haven't seen it just yet. People who are listening, and B, Greeley, I know likes to live his life spoiler free. So I'm trying to be courteous about that. That being said, though, I actually think this might not trickle all the way down to heroic, but I hope it does. I actually think there might be not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 bosses that stand a very good chance of being those type of fights, of being those fights where we look back and we're like, yes, this was good. This felt like it, like we did the thing. This felt good to beat. And none of them are early bosses. so we'll see, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah.
So I guess we should say, so when we talk about Freebird, so when we were progressing on Sarkareth, I believe I don't think I missed any of Sarkareth progression. I think I was back full time at that point.
I think so, yeah.
So we had been not banging our heads against a wall, but we were getting to we had done all of our get through phase 1, get through phase 2, get down to phase 3. And we were going downstairs, we were trying to figure out rock placement and all that. So we figured out, put them off towards the wall. So that way you have all the room to block off with the rock damage. And we're starting to make progress. we actually had one pull. We got to like 6%. Like we had been hitting like 30%, and then we get to 6. And so the blood's flowing. Like, no, we the adrenaline's going. We can do this. We just have to keep pushing. And then the rest of that night, we wiped at 30%. Cool. So we go in the next week, and I don't remember who started it. But somebody, there we go. There he'll fess up to it.
Definitely was that.
It was absolutely me.
Somebody was hanging out on his Spotify or whatever, and just decided
incredibly high.
Please, we want to make sure and make that known. Incredibly high, this guy right here, and he just decides he's going to start playing music, and he's a high guy over here. So what's he gonna play? Naturally, he's gonna play Freebird. That's what we're gonna do here.
We're being blown around to different platforms. To get into third phase, we literally get blown from one platform onto another. Like we're flying through that. I was like, this is perfect. This is great.
Yeah. And so we get to this point where everybody's more and more people are playing it, and we get to the point where we're like, hey, you know, we got to the chorus and we're not lusted yet, or we're not like Freebird is hitting and we are behind. What's going on? So after a while, Freebird was the measuring stick to how we were ahead or behind on the encounter. And then we got to the point where it was like, you hit the chorus of Freebird and it's kicking, and we're sub 10%, and we're like, no, we got this. And then we did. And I have to say, I don't know that we clear if we don't have Freebird. Just saying.
The Freebird effect.
The Freebird effect. It came down to it because I was like, hey guys, did you know? Again, like I'm just
toasted.
I'm toasted for the night. And I was like, guys, did you know if you start Freebird right as we pull, when we are getting knocked into phase 3, it starts going into the and that's as much as we can use for, copyright. Yeah. And then it goes into full guitar riff after that, which is perfect because like that's when we're getting second lust. We're going in like it was like it's like full like engines firing, everything's going, and people were like, no way, no. And then like the next pull, like 5 people were like, holy crap.
I'm pretty sure Oddwin was the one was like, no.
Yeah,
and then
going was like,
yes. And then
like,
we all like come up after the next wipe and we're like, all right,
okay,
you're on to something. Okay. So then I had to figure out, because I'm of course recording all these on the chance that we do get our AOTC kill, how to figure out how to do, or I'm not recording, so I'm like trying to make sure and put layers on and do all this stuff in the middle of us trying to wipe and do all this fun stuff. So that was a fun experience for me. I learned something. It was a valuable information for me to have, so that's good at least. Yeah. So I have you to thank for that.
And then we found out that the same kind of transition into Guitar Rift into Phase 3 happens on Sark.
Yep. Where? So it was literally like we learned it here to then we get to Sarkarath and it's just
transition.
It's the same. And it's great. So now, if Mr. Flamey Boy himself doesn't have Freebird, like, come on, what are they doing?
Yeah. Worst fight of the expansion.
Worst fight.
It could be the best one, and I'm like, no, this isn't Freebird nice.
It doesn't Freebird,
Does it Freebird?
Does it Freebird?
Freebird.
Oh, jeez, that will be a measuring stick only we could think of.
I'm gonna approach every raid boss now and say, in raid as I'm explaining the fight, does it Freebird though? We'll have to find out.
I'm gonna start. That's gonna be. I'm gonna have a Freebird ranking.
Oh yeah.
How many?
2 Freebirds.
You both for our retrospective for season 3. You both. I expect Freebird
rankings
out of 5.
I give this 5 Freebirds.
5 Freebirds.
Yes, that will be a great conversation to have for season 3. We're not going to probably talk about season 3 tonight, but that does mean very soon. In fact, as of us recording this podcast, Season 3 officially doesn't start for 8 days, but 10.2 will be here tomorrow. So we're actually doing this Monday evening.
Yeah.
So we'll have some more things to talk about. I am excited. Hopefully you continue to see some Marksman Hunter changes. Maybe we see that. Maybe, But I'm excited to share more podcasts with you guys. I haven't figured out exactly what we're doing for the next week's podcast. We'll just have to wait and see. Since I was a dummy, we don't have any questions, unfortunately, from you guys. So again, I'll plug it one more time. I will put the email. Send us an email down below. Let us know different questions that you guys would like us to talk about. But you guys have anything else before we sign off?
GGZ questions at gmail.com.
He's just doing that in case, because he knows I'm going to forget again.
Just in case he forgets, but also GGZ questions. You can remember Glitch, Greeley, Zaft questions at gmail.com.
Send us something. Anything.
Send us something. Anything.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Even if that's you, Barry.
Ask us questions about anything, especially if that's you, Barry. I will be very upset.
But I think this was another successful podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Consider subscribing here to my channel if you guys haven't already, and follow me over at Twitch at twitch.tv/Mr. Eggplant. As of recording this, if you are watching live or within the next week, there are going to be Twitch giveaways. I encourage you guys to come check that out. Get a free TCG mount for your troubles, and be sure and check out our guild live starting raid, not tomorrow, but in 8 days. So excited to share that experiences with you guys. And again, to you both here, thank you for spending your evening with me. It means the world to me, and I look forward to chatting with you guys down in the comment section very soon. Yep. So
thanks
I
for
think that's all
me.
we have. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching. See you soon. Send us some questions.
Yes.
Some questions.